Fear of unexpected situation and how to adapt into the yoga context. Imagine you all set to teach an intermediate yoga class. You have meticulously planned every detail, the sequence, the poses, the timing of each movement. You have practiced this class, felt it into your body, and you know it's designed to push your student to the edge of their abilities in a safe and supportive way. Now, just as you are about to start, a super beginner walks in. She's already signed up online, paid for the class, and perhaps didn't notice that it was an intermediate class. In moments like those, it's easy to feel a twinge of frustration. You have prepared a class for your student who are ready for the challenge, and now you have someone who might struggle with the basics. So what do you do in this scenario? First, you welcome the student in with open arms, because that's the essence of yoga. Yoga is about acceptance, compassion, and meeting people where they are, regardless of their level. Now, you are faced with the choice here. Do you stick with your meticulously crafted plan, knowing that it might overwhelm this beginner, or do you adapt on the fly, balancing the needs of the entire class while ensuring that everyone, including the new student, feels empowered and safe? Those are my tips that help you navigate the unexpected scenario where a beginner student shows up. Preparation is one of the cornerstones to becoming competent and consequently confident. When you know your material inside out, you become incredibly confident. When you are new to yoga teaching, preparation is essential, is fundamental for building confidence and delivering a smooth, cohesive class. However, it's equally important to prepare with flexibility in mind, as each class can present unique challenges and various students' needs. How do you do that? Well, as a new teacher, you might not yet have the experience to adapt on the fly, so it's wise to prepare in advance by thinking through possible variation for each pose. Consider the different type of students who might attend your class, those with limited flexibility, beginners, or students with specific needs such as pregnant women. By preparing with those scenarios in mind, you'll be better equipped to offer modification and ensure that everyone in your class feels included and supported. A helpful guideline I often suggest to my students is to design every class with a beginner and pregnant woman in mind. This approach encourages you to think inclusively and consider the broad spectrum of abilities and conditions that might be present in your class. For example, if you're planning a sequence that includes challenging poses, think about how you can modify those poses to be accessible for someone who is new to yoga or who might have physical limitation due to pregnancy. This might mean offering props like blocks and straps or providing alternative poses that achieve similar benefits. When you are prepared thoroughly, including possible variations, you build a foundation of confidence that allows you to respond to student needs during a class. Knowing that you have already considered how to adapt your sequence for different students will help you stay calm and focused, even if unexpected situations arise. Tip number 2, balancing preparation and students' needs. One of the most important aspects of teaching yoga is truly understanding the needs of your students. While planning is fundamental, over-planning can sometimes hinder the effectiveness of your class, especially if your plan doesn't account for diverse needs and abilities of your student in front of you. Yoga, it's not a one-size-fits-all practice. Each student walks into your class with their unique goals, reason for practicing, and personal challenges. As a yoga teacher, your role extends beyond simply sharing what you know. You need to connect with your students on a deeper level to understand what brings them to the mat and what keeps them coming back. Merely stepping into the class and delivering a preset sequence, no matter how well you've practiced it, it won't always allow you to see what your students can or cannot do. Your students should always be your top priority, and that means being ready to adapt your plan to meet their needs. Instead of rigidly adhering to a predetermined sequence, consider each class as a dynamic living experience that evolves based on real-time feedback. This doesn't mean abandoning your preparation, but rather being flexible enough to adjust your approach based on what you observed at the moment. Whether it's modifying poses to accommodate an injury, or offering a variation for a different skill level, or even changing the pace or focus of the class to suit the energy of the room. Throughout preparation, including detailing, sequence, timing, and scripting is important, but adaptability is key. When you step into the class, think of it as an opportunity to redefine your intention and preparation. What you experience during your preparation is valuable, but the real magic happens when you engage with your student in the present moment. By tuning into their needs and adjusting your instruction accordingly, you can create a class that resonates more deeply with each participant. Over time, this attentiveness to their needs will keep them coming back as they feel seen, heard, and supported in their practice. Tip number 3, learning to observe. Observing students goes beyond simply watching them. It involves assessing their experience, physical capability, and comfort level, allowing you to tailor the practice to support their journey. How do you observe despite the simple act of watching? You need to assess your students' strength, alignment, and overall experience level through foundational poses or market poses like plank, downward-facing dog, and chaturanga. Those poses reveal a lot about a student's body awareness, body strength, core strength, and flexibility. Keep in mind that a beginner student in your class might be new to yoga, but she might already be physically strong, especially if she's coming from a background like CrossFit. As you guide students into those poses, take the time to observe their form and any sign of struggle or discomfort. Are they able to hold the plank with stability, or do they shake or strain? Is their downward-facing dog steady, or do they seem to collapse in their shoulders? Observations like this can provide a valuable insight into what modifications or adjustment might be necessary. Your observation can also guide your teaching cues. If you see that multiple students are struggling with a particular aspect of a pose, you can offer a modification. For example, if you notice that students are collapsing in their shoulders, during downward facing dog, you might emphasize pressing through the hands and lifting the hips. Along with observation, encourage students to become more observant of their own body. Prompt them to notice how they feel in each pose, where they might be holding tension, and how intentional breathing can release that tension. By cultivating this self-awareness, students can become more attuned to their bodies, helping them make adjustments independently and practice more mindfully. Tip number 4, adapt and modify. Once you have assessed your student, be ready to modify poses and offer variation that suit their capabilities and different levels. For example, if you notice that a student is struggling to hold chaturanga with proper alignment, you might suggest lowering the knees to the mat or using a block to support their chest. Those modifications help prevent injury and build confidence, allowing students to progress at their own pace. For instance, during more advanced poses, provide modifications that allow the beginner to participate without feeling left behind. Asanas like Purvottanasana, upward plank pose, are quite challenging, but Ardha Purvottanasana is more accessible. Encourage the class to embrace their variations. Remind them that yoga is not about how the pose looks, but how it feels. This is not only helps your beginner feels included, but also reinforce a valuable lesson for your intermediate students that yoga is about practice, humility, and self-awareness. In the end, it's not just about delivering a perfectly planned class. You want to prepare prepare, balance preparation and students' needs, and learn how to observe. But most importantly, adaptability becomes your superpower. By modifying your approach, you ensure that the beginner feels supported while still challenging your more experienced students. You might even find that this adaptation opens up new possibility in your teaching, allowing you to explore creativity within the structure you have planned. That's the true mark of a great teacher, one who fosters an environment where every student leaves feeling accomplished, seen and respected, while turning any situation into an opportunity for growth, connection and learning. Tip number 5, interaction, clear communication and progressive option for asanas. Effective interaction in a yoga class is about creating a space where students feel supported and understood without disrupting their practice. As a yoga teacher, your role is to guide, observe, and subtly interact with the students to ensure they are safe, comfortable, and progressing at their own pace. Interaction as a yoga teacher should be gentle and subtle. Ensure you don't pull students out of their meditative or focused state. Instead of standing next to the mat and directly asking, how do you feel in this pose, consider more subtle ways to gauge their comfort and understanding. For example, you can observe their body language or offer general prompts to the whole class, like, if this feels too intense, remember, you can always take a step back or modify. Interaction is not just about asking questions. It's about how you're clearly communicating your intention and the purpose behind each pose or sequence. In classes where students have varying levels of experience, it's important to explain that there are different options available for each asana. This transparency helps students feel more at ease, knowing they can choose the variation that best suits their current ability and comfort level. By clearly stating that everyone's practice is unique and that it's okay to take the gentler option, you create an inclusive environment where students feel empowered to listen to their own body. A key aspect of interaction is offering progressive option for each pose. What does it mean? Start by guiding all students to the most accessible variation of the pose as if they were complete beginners. Once everyone is settled in this foundational stage, you can then invite those who feel comfortable to explore more advanced variations. A perfect example would be Navasana. Right? Stage 1, super beginner options or gentle variation. You guide people into Dandasana. Give them guidance and cue here and mention that people with menstruation, pregnancy or lower back issue, they can remain here. Stage number 2, the beginner and gentle option. So you want to cue people to bend their knees and hold them against the chest with your arms. Wrap around your legs, then balance on the buttocks with the feet off the floor or with the tips of the toes touching the floor. Stage number 3, beginner, intermediate. You want to stretch your arms parallel to the floor, gradually lean back with the torso 45 degrees to the floor and your thighs 45 degrees to the floor as well. Heels toward your buttocks, chest lifted. You stay there. Stage number 4, intermediate. You want to raise your feet to the knee high, point your toes, keep your chest lifted and roll your shoulders back. Stage number 5, more advanced. You want to straighten your legs 45 degrees to the floor, point your toes, keep your chest lifted and roll your shoulders back. Every stage is an add-on and therefore a drop-off. This approach allows each student to find their own edge without feeling pressure to keep up with others. By interacting with your students in a way that is both subtle and supportive and providing clear communication and progressive pose option, you create a yoga class that is inclusive, adaptive, and respectful for each student's individual journey. This approach enhances the experience for your student and build trust and confidence in your teaching. Tip number 6, encourage self-awareness. As a yoga teacher, one of your most powerful tools is empathy. the ability to understand and share the feelings of your students. This goes beyond simply guiding them through poses. It's about fostering an environment where students feel safe and supported to explore their own experience within the practice. Instead of dictating how students should feel in a particular pose, invite them to tune into their bodies and sensation. Yoga is a deeply personal practice, and each student will experience poses differently based on their unique anatomy, energy level, and emotional state. By encouraging students to explore what they feel, you empower them to cultivate a deeper connection with their body. Let's take an example of Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold. Instead of instructing your student to feel a stretch in the hamstrings, guide them to explore the sensation they experience as they fold forward. You might say, as you come into Paschimottanasana, notice where you feel the stretch. It could be in your legs, in your lower back, or even in the back of your knees. Let the breath guide you into the pose and allow yourself to experience whatever arises without judgment. This approach not only shows empathy, but also teaches students to trust their bodies and listen to the signals they're given them. It shifts the focus from achieving a specific outcome to embracing the journey of self-discovery that each pose offers. Tip number 7, create a judgment-free zone. Remind your students that there is no right or wrong way to feel in any given pose. The beauty of yoga lies in its adaptability and its ability to meet each individual where they are. By fostering a judgment-free environment, you help your students feel more comfortable exploring their practice at their own pace, understanding that each student's experience will be different. Some might feel a deep stretch, while others might barely feel anything. Some might find peace and calm, while others might confront feelings of discomfort or frustration. All of those experiences are valid. By acknowledging and supporting those individuals' journeys, you help your students build confidence and trust in their practice. Yoga is about recognizing that the practice is not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's a personal journey, and your role as a yoga teacher is to guide and support your student as they navigate their path. By encouraging and creating a space where each student's experiences value, you enhance their connection to the practice and help them grow. Tip number 8, using accessible language. One of the most important aspects of effective yoga teaching is communication. The words you choose can either make a practice accessible and encouraging or leave students feeling confused and disconnected. When teaching, especially to beginners, it's crucial to use language that everyone can understand and relate to. While it's important to understand anatomy as a yoga teacher, using complex anatomical terms with students who might not be familiar with the terms can create a barrier to their learning. Instead of saying hamstrings, which might not resonate with everyone, use simpler, more descriptive language like the back of your leg. This ensures that all students, regardless of their experience level, can follow along and fully participate in the practice. Think about the language that will make the poses or movement relatable to your students. For example, instead of saying activate your quadriceps, you might say engage the muscle at the front of your thigh. By breaking down the instruction into more familiar terms, you help students better connect with their bodies and the movement you are guiding them through. As your students advance and become more attuned to their bodies and your teaching style, you can begin to introduce more specific anatomical terms. However, never assume they already understand. Always explain the terms first, as there might be someone who didn't grasp it at the first time. Our brains can absorb knowledge up to a certain point, after which they need a break to process and consolidate the information. For instance, you could say, as you feel the stretch in the back of your legs, those are your hamstrings. You can gently deepen the pose with each exhale. This approach builds their knowledge gradually without making them feel lost or intimidated. Using accessible language is also about inclusivity. It ensures that everyone in your class, regardless regardless of the level of experience or background, feels welcome and able to participate fully. By avoiding jargons and overly technical terms, you create a space where students feel more confident. The conclusion of today, let's wrap up by acknowledging that you have prepared your class thoughtfully. You have allowed yourself to move beyond the rigid structure, embrace the present moment. You have found a balance between preparation and your student needs, learned to observe and adapt, communicated clearly, and interacted mindfully. Through this process, you have helped your students develop awareness, teaching them to listen to what their body are already telling them and to nurture their intuition about their physical and mental capabilities. Ultimately, remember that teaching yoga isn't just about sharing what you know. It's about being present for your student and learning something new with them each day. At the end of the day, your students become your teachers. If you haven't watched my previous video in which I discussed the top 5 challenges to become a yoga teacher, you can find it somewhere there. Standing in front of an audience can be intimidating, sparking various fears. That's why I created Turn Your Fears into Fuel Masterclass. Our mission is to empower you to find your authentic voice, master the art of communication, and step into the spotlight with confidence. Register to Turn Fears of Public Speaking into Fuel for Yoga Teacher Masterclass on the link below. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much to be part of our Yoga Teacherpreneurship community. Leave your questions, comment, and positive vibe below. We are here to support you every step of the way. Please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Stay dramatically different. Ciao for now.